everybody, Zach again, newtutorial.com, coming in, making a video for you today. So we're going to talk about this article. It's Shabbat. I got up and I did Torah portion with my boys. And now they're over at lunch eating with Grandma and Grandpa at their house. And I turned on my feed, and I turned on the feed of MeWe. It's a new social media platform. And a lot of people from Facebook who are getting frustrated with all the censorship over there are moving over to MeWe. And so I've only been on MeWe for like a couple weeks, but I was going through my feed on there, and I saw this article that we're going to talk about today, and I just could not stop laughing. I could not believe what I was reading, and you know, the only thought that came into my head was somewhere a feminist head just exploded. So let's take a look at this article. I think you're going to enjoy this. Let's go ahead and read it now. It's from the New York Post. Here it is from the New York Post. Coronavirus is turning bad NYC women, I'll just say bad NYC women into housewives. Came out April 28th, about a week ago or so. And I'm just now seeing the article, but again, I think you're going to enjoy this. So coronavirus is turning bad NYC, New York City women into housewives. And it starts off this way. Newlywed Allison Mahoney never had time to cook until COVID-19 hit New York. I'm always running all over the place. Usually I come home around 8. My husband cooks dinner and I pass out on the couch. Mahoney, an event planner who lives in Harlem, tells the Post. But within the first 3 days of quarantine, the 41-year-old had used up all the all-purpose flour, churning out homemade English muffins, crumb cake, and banana bread. And that's just the tip of her pandemic transformation. I've refinished 2 pieces of furniture and crocheted 3 hats and a dog sweater, says Mahoney, who spent hours watching YouTube tutorial videos about cake decorating and challenging cable knit stitch. I have all this time now. I figure I might as well get crafty. So ambitious urban NYC women are usually more into hustling than homemaking. But in the midst of a health crisis, boardroom bad women are embracing their inner housewives and even finding joy in domestic tasks such as knitting, embroidery, and baking. I'm usually very busy, says Mimi too, a 29-year-old university administrator who lives in Ridgewood. But now that she's working from home, she has enough time to watch grass grow. Something we do here all the time, literally, because we're always, trying to decide whether or not we're going to release the sheep on a certain part of grass, or if it's going to need to be mowed by my oldest son, as well as scallions and herbs, which she's cultivating on her windowsill. It makes me feel productive and like there's some result I can look forward to, says the newfound container gardener. Between watering, she's honing her kitchen skills, whipping up cinnamon rolls, homemade pasta, and focaccia bread? Focaccia? I don't know. Guys, you're going to have to leave that in the comments and let me know. It looks delicious. I don't know. What is that, fruit on there? I mean, I'm not one to mix the sweet with the savory, but looks delicious. I mean, I'll try anything once. Focaccia bread? I mean, you'll have to sound that out for me in the comments below if you know what that is. But it looks good. 3 months ago, if you told Queen's DJ Kiki Feliz that she'd soon master Boeuf Bourguignon. This is Boeuf Bourguignon is the I believe it's a French, obviously a French dish, and it's, I believe, one of the famous dishes of Julia Child, I believe. If you've ever seen that Julie and Julia movie, one of our favorites, by the way, you've probably recognized Boeuf Bourguignon. It's beef bourguignon. I guess boeuf is beef in French. In her tiny kitchen, I would have laughed in your face, says the 27-year-old. Before the pandemic, I think I've grocery shopped about 10 times in 3.5 years and living in New York, and now I'm in the kitchen all day, every day. Imagine that. Now that she's had a taste of the domestic life, she finds herself wanting more. Oh my goodness. See, that's the part right there. That's the part right there. She wants more. Heads just exploded all over New York if you're a liberal feminist. That's just it right there. I mean, it's all over the wall. You're going to have to call a cleaning crew because your head just exploded. I've thought about making bread, says Feliz, who has yet to tackle the ubiquitous quarantine sourdough. Is that ubiquitous quarantine sourdough? I definitely have plans to start a garden and want to teach myself how to sew too. Oh, it hurts so bad. Oh, I just saw that. I was just like, oh my goodness. The feminazis are just going nuts. She could take pointers from 23-year-old Sonochi Kang, who lives in Bushwick. I've ordered probably 10 cross-stitching and embroidery kits since this all started, says Kang, who usually holds a demanding marketing job that keeps her scrambling 24/7. Digging through her apartment for lockdown distractions, she unearthed a cross-stitching kit that a coworker had gifted her. It sat around in a tote for months, says Kang, and now it's become her new obsession. Since she's picked up the needle and thread, my anxiety has gone. Since she's picked up the needle and thread, my anxiety has gone down, says Kang, who plans to level up her stitch game in the coming weeks. I'm trying to get into real embroidery and bedazzling, too. I don't know what bedazzling is. I'll have to Google that later, I guess. I hope to personalize my own clothes like a denim jacket or jeans or start making patches. For her, quarantine's brought her more than just a new hobby. It's made her reevaluate the city's rat race and what she wants her life to look like post-pandemic. Oh my, there may be a silver lining to all this, folks. There just might be. It could be the beginnings of the restoration of the family. I mean, let's just keep reading. We're almost finished here. I'm going to try and move a little slower after this, says Kang. And Feliz, who's originally from Texas, is going full Little House on the Prairie. In a lot of ways, I regressed in New York, says the DJ. I got swept up in conveniences. When all this is over, she says, I want to live on a farm, adopt a bunch of kids, and make art. Why adopt? Why can't you make them? I mean, maybe she's to the point where she can't make them. I forget how old she said she was. Let's see. 23-year-old. She's 23-year-old. I mean, maybe she's, maybe she is not of the persuasion to have a partner, the type of partner that allows you to make more children. I don't know. I mean, that does come with a little bit of natural happenings there. So maybe, I don't know what her situation is in that regard. But anyway, I find it absolutely fascinating that here we have this pandemic, and you've already seen, I've seen the studies online where it talks about, with all this time spending at home, perhaps 9 months from now, there's going to be a baby boom because the entire nation, the entire world really, in many aspects has been, held up at home. And when you put the man and the wife together in the same house and there's just not a lot to do, maybe we'll have a baby boom. And I mean, I talked about this in one of the last conferences I spoke at and talking about how, America and much of the world really is childless at this point. We are not making babies enough to the point to repopulate our declining populations. Most of the world leaders today do not have children. Donald Trump, if you go back and look at all the world leaders today, Donald Trump, our president, like him or hate him, he is amongst a small few of world leaders who actually has kids. Most world leaders today don't. And so you have people who are running entire nations who don't have children, don't have grandchildren in many cases, because they don't have children. And so they have no regard to what the plight is of the modern day family. Yet, here we have just an unbelievable story of women who are held up in home and they're having to cook. They can't go to the store, or if they go to the store, they have to deal with all the hassles of that. Or some places, stores are even closed or shut down, to a bare minimum. And so they can't go out to eat restaurants. I had a friend of mine who I've known for years. And when this pandemic kicked off and they were shutting everything down, he said, I'm literally going to starve to death. I'm going to starve to death. Because he ate out at a restaurant for every single meal. In the morning, he'd go get drive-through. At lunch, he'd go out to lunch. At dinner, he'd go out to dinner. He had no food in his house. He had no idea how to operate his kitchen. He lives in a very nice suburban home, but he doesn't know how to use his kitchen. He says, I'm going to starve to death because that's how he ate. Now you're taking a whole bunch of people, you're forcing them to stay at home, and wow, they have to learn how to cook. And the women are gravitating towards it. Perhaps, just perhaps, spitballing an idea here. Maybe they're doing so because it's ingrained into them. That's part of their makeup, pardon the pun. You know, taking off the makeup and getting into the makeup of your DNA, how you were created to be. The man provides for the family, the woman maintains the family. That's helpmate. To keep a home and to keep it well organized and fed. You know, provider, maintainer, helpmate. I mean, it's amazing that these women are gravitating towards this. They're enjoying it, and they're trying to think about how it's going to be after post-pandemic. How can I I like doing this. I want to keep doing this. Folks, liberals' heads just exploded. Because this is like the antithesis. This is the absolute antithesis. Is that the right word? That doesn't even make sense. It's completely 180 different than what these people have tried to get society to head towards. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I laugh at stuff like this because, see, this is how you were created. And it bodes well for those of us who have put an emphasis on family. That while the rest of the world is telling us that we're crazy, that we're archaic, that we're behind the times, that we're not. It drives home the point that we're not so crazy, that we do have a good handle on things. We do have a good handle of what life is supposed to be like. I love articles like this. And I love the fact that people are re-examining some things through all this. Maybe there is a silver lining to all this. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But articles like this give me hope. Give me hope. Great hope. All right, guys, we'll leave it at that. Go home, read your Bible. Thanks.